Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fake Love and Flying Monkeys podcast. My name's Nova Gibson and I am your host. My area of expertise is in supporting victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse and other toxic relationships. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service, and I'm also the author of Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from the initial pink cloud you find yourself on at the start through to the horrific discard and the powerful trauma bond that keeps you hooked. So take your imaginary seat on the roller coaster that is narcissistic abuse, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. The covert narcissist fools everyone. How do they do this? Well, first of all, let's look at the differences between a covert narcissist and an overt narcissist. So just briefly, an overt narcissist is what society typically deems a narcissist to be. A narcissist to the rest of the world who hasn't been victimized by one is someone that looks in mirrors all the time. They're loud, they brag a lot, they're arrogant, and basically you can pick them out. You can see them coming. And that's what makes it so hard for victims to have their trauma validated, to really understand who and what they're dealing with, because the person they're with is exactly the opposite of that. A covert narcissist is going to fly under the radar. They're going to be the last person that you would think could abuse you because they aren't loud and out there. You can't see them coming. And this is how they infiltrate your life so easily. They will be sometimes shy, introverted even, full of anxiety, and forever the victim of someone else. They are going to sneak into your life undetected, and they are going to immediately start wearing your boundaries down by chipping away at them with just little confusing behaviors, which you learn to override. In other words, you paint the red flags a different color because they are so at odds with that lovely, charming person that you remember in the beginning. Now, I firmly believe that the majority of narcissists in society are actually covert narcissists. And I have that view because of the thousands of victims that I have counseled in the last 12 years or so who were describing the behaviors and the traits of someone who is covert in their abuse and is able to fool everyone around them because they do not fit the mold of what we believe to be a typical abuser. So the covert narcissist is going to use more passive aggressive strategies to abuse you, such as the silent treatment and the smear campaigns and the classic gaslighting and sabotage and behaviors that confuse you rather than being really, really obvious. This is their modus operandi. And of course, they're going to be charming most of the time when you first meet them. So if you've got someone who is lovely when you first meet them, when you first begin a relationship with them, and they hook you in without you realizing that it's happening with their charm, and you see absolutely no evidence that this person would be anything other than someone who is going to treat you with respect and empathy and kindness, why would you think that they could change? Of course, you're not going to think they could flip on a dime and change into someone the complete opposite of that, because someone who loves you, someone who really values your presence in their life and has a normal range of emotions, someone you can trust, someone who absolutely respects you, is not going to flip on a dime. We don't meet someone thinking that they're pretending to be someone they're not and that they're going to change into the person that makes us feel worse than any other person has ever made us feel. Now, if the covert narcissist was abusive, straight up, they were just out there and the abuse began immediately, it would be easy to leave. You would see those red flags because they would be like neon signs very, very quickly in the relationship, and it would be easy to leave. But of course, they're not going to present their true self to you because you would leave. They've got to pretend to be the person of your dreams. And to do that, they mirror you. They reflect back to you all of the wonderful traits and qualities that you possess. And essentially, you fall in love with yourself, all the good things that you have. They are watching you and picking up on all your little idiosyncrasies, and they become the yin to your yang. So if you've met someone who is reflecting back to you how much they care about you and what a kind-hearted person they are, in other words, they're fooling you. So it's really important to remember that love bombing stage when they're hooking you in and pretending to be the person of your dreams. It's really important to remember that when you're asking yourself, how do they fool everyone else? Why can no one else see what I see? It's so frustrating. So the narcissist hooks you in and you become addicted to this relationship, trauma bonded. You are love bombed and you are placed on a pink cloud of happiness. And once the narcissist knows you're hooked, you are unceremoniously booted off that cloud, and that's when they set about their real agenda, which is to make it all about them. The end goal is to top up their ego with the narcissistic supply they get from your reactions, good or bad, it doesn't matter. But they've got to keep you hooked. So they can't just abuse you 100% of the time. They've got to throw you some breadcrumbs every now and then of the nice person. And it's those breadcrumbs that keep you hooked in the relationship because they deflect from the abuse. So the covert narcissist creeps into your life without all the whistles and the bangs of the overt narcissist, and they attach to you like a flea to a dog or a leech that sucks all the goodness out of you. And it's only when you are empty, drained of all your strength and your self-worth that they leave you like an empty sack on the ground, devoid of any empathy. They move on to the next target. Even if they stay in an official relationship with you, they discard you. You're empty. You've got nothing to give them because they've abused you so much, and they need a full tank. So getting back to the narcissist charm and the insidious way they lower your boundaries and increase your threshold for abuse without you even knowing it, and creating that powerful trauma bond to them where you become addicted to the roller coaster, where there's incredibly high highs and incredibly low lows. They do this insidiously over time. If it happened all in one big bang in the beginning, as I said earlier, it would be easy to detect, but they've got to dismantle your personality and erode your boundaries away slowly. So like the frog who jumps into the pot of water that's cold, and someone comes and turns up that water, the heat on the water, ever so slowly. Like the frog, you don't know that you are being boiled alive until you can't escape. The frog doesn't know that the heat on the water is increasing to a point where it's going to boil to death because it happens so slowly. That's the nature of narcissistic abuse, and especially with a covert narcissist. So if you look back on your relationship and you remember those confusing behaviors in the beginning where their words weren't matching up with the actions, you will remember that you developed all these strategies to override those red flags because they were at total odds with the person that you believed them to be, the person that made you feel so good most of the time or some of the time down the track. If you think back to those times and you realize that you didn't even pick up on the fact that this person was actually abusing you and that these behaviors were increasing ever so gradually over time until finally it became really, really obvious to you and you basically had your light bulb moment. If you think about how long it took for you to really become aware that something just wasn't right in this relationship, how do you think other people outside of your closed front door are going to be able to pick up on the fact that this person is actually an abuser, especially when they use such passive aggressive strategies to wear you down? They're not seeing what you see. The covert narcissist wears their mask for everyone else, and it's only you who are now being devalued by them who sees that true self. And therefore, why wouldn't these other people take the narcissist, the covert narcissist you now know them to be? Why would they not take them at face value? So because of all the strategies the covert narcissist uses to hook you in and keep you hooked, which begins with the love bombing and down the track, that very, very powerful trauma bond, the addiction to the relationship, they can rely on the fact that no one will believe you when you go to talk about the abuse, because you as a victim, most victims will develop coping mechanisms, survival techniques to survive the abuse that you can't even define as abuse. The covert narcissist has you exactly where they want you to be. They have driven you crazy with the ongoing gaslighting and the projection and the blame shifting and just the confusing behaviors where you defend yourself against their word salad that makes no sense at all. And much of the time, the victim will be developing anxiety disorders, which are not the cause of the abuse. They are the result of the abuse. They will be developing PTSD, panic disorder, depression, all of these things that are the result of ongoing complex abuse that has been consistent over time. So not only do people only see the charming person that the narcissist pretends to be when they're wearing their mask for everyone else, but they see the victim often deteriorating, and the narcissist using the fact that you have got anxiety and all of those other things. They use that as a way of manipulating your friends, your loved ones, everyone else outside your front door who sees you experiencing anxiety. They get to use that to make out to everyone else that you are in fact the problem, and the fact that victims are going to experience anxiety at the very least because of the lack of control over their life and not being able to trust their instincts anymore and not trusting their decision making and the isolation and everything else that is encompassed in that abuse. Because of all of that, the narcissist is able to rely on the fact that if you go to talk about the abuse, no one is going to believe you. And it cements that facade they put out to the world even more. They don't want you to be able to get support. They want to destroy any type of connection to a support system. So fooling everyone else into believing they are that charming person, in reality, the person you met in the beginning is essential so that they can keep you under their control, so that no one will believe you, and so that the symptoms of the abuse, the residual effects of your trauma, they can then use against you. You also have to remember that when you're being love bombed by someone, and this just doesn't apply to intimate relationship, guys. You can apply these same general principles to a narcissistic parent or a friend or a boss, someone you work with. You can apply the same principles. When you're being love bombed by someone, you're going to reflect how you feel about this person to everyone else. You're going to be telling everyone how amazing they are. You're going to be filling your social media with pics and videos of how special they are. And maybe you're going to put a picture of those flowers they sent you yesterday, a picture of the card they sent you that has all these gushy words and stories of all the amazing things they do for you, which is intentional to hook you in, and because they know you will put those pictures on social media. Why? Not just so they can manipulate you, but so that you will, as you do, tell everyone else how amazing they are. So let's briefly look at what's taken place from start to finish with the covert narcissist. They've love bombed you. You think they're amazing. They're reflecting to you how much they care about you. You're their soulmate. They've never met anyone like you. You are therefore telling the world how loved you feel by this person. And if you've been in a toxic, an abusive relationship before, and here is this person who's making you feel like a prince or princess, and everyone can see these special things they're doing for you, you've got that. And you are then having your boundaries lowered ever so slowly, so the abuse doesn't appear to be abusive to begin with, because it starts off small. It most of the time starts off under the guise of caring. I want to help you shop for your clothes because I care about you so much. I want to pick you up from work every day because I don't want anyone running you over if you were walking home, and that's just something that I want to do for you. All of these caring deeds that then become, obviously, when you have your light bulb moment, acts of coercive control, where they start off where it appears that they're doing those things because they love and care about you so much, and you work out down the track that it's actually about control, because when you want to do something that doesn't involve asking for their input, they will punish you. So most of the abuse, once again, you probably can't even define as abuse, are confusing, and they are passive aggressive in nature. There's nothing really overt, or if there does happen to be a really overt scenario, you're able to minimize that situation as being just an isolated incident, because they're never that over the top. You've got the abuse that is not overt in nature. And when you finally are able to pinpoint what is going on in this relationship, no one else has seen it. And the passive aggressive behaviors that you could or would describe to someone else, they're not going to understand much of the time because they're not overt. So you find it really difficult to articulate the abuse to people who love your abuser. And on top of that, you're probably exhibiting the effects of the abuse. And on top of that, this person is probably engaging in a very covert smear campaign where they tell everyone they're worried about you and they want to help you with your issues. So all of these things together support the narcissist having the ability to fool everyone else and for no one to believe you when you go to talk about the abuse. And if you have those reservations before you talk to anyone, that no one's going to believe me, they've only ever seen the charmer, then it's so hard to even step forward and talk about it, because you can't even pinpoint the abuse as being abusive. You just know it doesn't feel good and it's not normal. And because the biggest red flag you will ever get that this relationship is toxic, abnormal, not healthy, is when you start to research their behavior. We don't tend to research and Google the behaviors of someone who's healthy. So what else is the covert narcissist doing to fool everyone else and make it impossible for you to get support and or justice? Well, they're going to do what narcissists do. They're going to manipulate people by pretending to be the most caring, giving person in the world. How many times do I hear from my clients that the narcissist will make them feel worthless and make them feel like they've asked them to do the most monumental favor for them simply because they would like them to look after their own children so they can possibly have a bit of time off. So you're being treated like that at home, and here's the narcissist over at your parents' house or the neighbor's house helping them to, make a new balcony on the house, or to lay a floor or some carpet down, or maybe they're helping someone to move house. They're pretending to be the most giving person, the most charitable person in the world, and they can't even make you a cup of coffee at home without making you feel guilty for asking them. So everything the covert narcissist does is not just happening in a vacuum. What I mean by that is they're always thinking ahead, and they want to look at one situation and think, how much narcissistic supply can I extract from this situation? So when they're appearing to be the most giving person and kind-hearted, where they give of their time and they're always on call with a helping hand to everyone else, they're also looking at the narcissistic supply they can get when they're abusing you and they're making it impossible for you to get that support. It's twofold. Everyone else thinks they're wonderful, and you don't feel like you can talk to anyone about it because you can't even tell them of a really overt time when the narcissist maybe has screamed and yelled obscenities or punched a wall. No, they're gaslighting you. How do you articulate the ongoing trauma and destruction that gaslighting causes, the impact that it has on you? Someone else will be hearing, oh, so they said that you did something and you don't remember saying that you did it, or they're telling you that you're a bit oversensitive because you didn't think that what they described as a joke was funny. So here you are trying to describe passive aggressive behaviors such as gaslighting, smear campaigns. Oh, so they're telling everybody that you're a bad person. Well, sticks and stones. This is the type of attitude you may receive from people when you're trying to articulate these very passive aggressive, abusive, ongoing behaviors. So the covert narcissist knows this. They know it will be really difficult for you to describe these behaviors, these abusive behaviors that are ongoing over time, and they're insidious in nature. They know it will be difficult for you to define those to others as abuse. And they've also got a backup plan. If you do go to talk about them, they will have planted the seeds of doubt in everyone's mind with their smear campaign, where they have preempted what you're going to say and they have a very plausible explanation for it. Sophie's just saying that I told her she was oversensitive because she's just tired, and she's had a lot of anxiety lately, and all I was doing was having a joke with her, but she's been really, I think, overreacting to things lately. But I'll be there for her. So they're sprinkling these seeds in everyone's mind. They're sprinkling them around like a crop duster, so that when you go to talk about the abuse, not only is it hard to articulate those behaviors as being so destructive, but that most people, if the narcissist knows that you're going to approach them, they will have already given them a reason as to why you're going to be saying those very things. And the narcissist has spent their entire life working on that image of being the most grandiose, amazing person in the world. They do not ever want to have that weak and wounded true self exposed. So basically their whole life revolves around their image and reputation and maintaining that persona they have worked so hard on. So it's not just about doing good deeds so that everyone thinks that, they're that really giving, kind person, or give you the shirt off their back. It's about creating a persona that the whole of society will believe is amazing. So they're not just targeting your friends and your loved ones. They're also creating an image. Now, an example might be, which I hear regularly, is the covert narcissist who regularly puts on Facebook or whatever other social media platform they have how much they hate abusers. Oh my goodness, they despise abusers so much, and cheaters. Oh my goodness, they should all be strung up. How can someone do that to someone they love? It's about propaganda. Put the information up that you want people to believe and manipulate anything that might be deemed as a negative, so it is spun into a positive. What I mean by that would be when they tell people they're just having a joke with you. They're trying to make you laugh again, but really it's an insult. They've got it out. They've got that insult out, but then they said, ha, just a joke. Why aren't you laughing? So yes, they're portraying to the world on their social media that they are the biggest advocate for domestic violence victims, and they hate people who would abuse someone else who loves them. And yet here they are abusing you. So they're portraying this image of being exactly the opposite of who they are. And that's what people are seeing. And you combine messages, propaganda like that they're spreading out to the world with the fact that they're always available to do a good deed, and they donate to charities and whatever else they're doing to make it out like they're Mother Teresa. You combine those things together, and the fact that what they have seen of the person you are telling them is your abuser, they've only seen this amazing, kind-hearted, empathetic facade. So why would they believe anything different? You've got to remember what you saw in the beginning and how you, even when you were the victim who was being devalued, you came up with these survival instincts, these coping mechanisms to minimize the red flags, to override them, because they were the opposite of the person that you love so much, and that made you feel better. So it was survival to come up with a way to rationalize away those confusing behaviors as something they didn't mean to do, or just an isolated incident that was so far removed from their character. And many victims who are so trauma bonded and so worn down by that abusive, traumatic environment will even defend their abuser. They will whitewash away any kind of confusing or what seems like an out of character behavior that someone else might be privy to. For example, you go out to a restaurant with your friends or your loved ones, and your abuser, who everyone else hasn't seen the other side of yet, who sees the narcissist yell at you or maybe just storm out of the door. The trauma bonded victim who doesn't want anyone else to think that their partner is a bad person will defend their abuser and pretend that that is just an isolated incident, and have everyone believe what they're saying because they can't leave the abusive environment. They can't leave that abusive relationship yet. So if they can't leave, they've got to be able to survive it. And if all their friends and loved ones hate their abuser, then that means that they're not going to have any kind of support system, and their abuser will use the fact that those people don't like them to their advantage. They don't want their loved ones to know. They're embarrassed. They're humiliated. So they make out that their abuser is just engaging in an isolated incident. They've just had a really bad day at work. And so if you go to talk about the abuse later on and you've actually defended those behaviors that someone may have actually seen, then once again, it's going to make the victim really not credible. And this, again, is what the abuser banks on. So for all of these reasons and more, guys, the narcissist is able to fool everyone else. And it is incredibly frustrating when people are saying to you, oh, you're so lucky. You've got an amazing partner or an amazing mother or father, because that's all they've seen. Now, these people are a lot of the time going to fall into the category of flying monkeys. A flying monkey being any person the narcissist is able to use to do their dirty work. And that means manipulating you and much of the time acting as their eyes and ears and supporting the narcissist version of being a nice person. They rely on their flying monkeys to convince you that this person is the person who loves them. And if they are feeling like they've been let down in the relationship, that the narcissist you now know them to be doesn't really mean it, and they'll perhaps tell you to try again or to go back because they have only seen the person the narcissist is pretending to be, which is the kind, giving, caring person who is pretending to care about you so much despite all of the flaws that other people are possibly seeing. And when I'm talking about flaws, I'm meaning the residual effects of the abuse, such as anxiety, etc. Those people are going to be manipulated, and the narcissist knows that they will believe what they see and hear, and they will struggle to believe what you are telling them when you finally decide you've had enough and you want their support as a person who sees the narcissist for who and what they are. So when you're seeking support, guys, it's so important to talk to the right people, because the narcissist, as you now know from all of these strategies I've spoken about, the narcissist has done a really good job of fooling the majority of the world. And that means that if you are going to seek support and understanding around who and what this person is, you have to really trust that they will be able to sift through all of the discrepancies between words and actions and what they're seeing and hearing from the narcissist and what you, their loved one, is telling them. You have to trust also that they're not going to minimize your abuse and push you back into the arms of the abuser because of the fact that the narcissist has formed an alliance with them. It's so important to talk to the right people. So don't try and convince those people who think the narcissist is amazing, but go to your support groups. Go to people that you trust implicitly. The narcissist will expose themselves eventually. They will come to a place where they can't maintain that facade 100% of the time, and the cracks will start to show. And hopefully you're no longer going to be around to see it when it happens, but they will continue to fool people. It's what they do, but it's not your job to try and open the eyes of everyone else, which comes at the expense of your own mental health and healing. If you want to open the eyes of others and support other victims, then wait till you're stronger. This is one of the final stages of healing, I believe, when the victim is ready to perhaps write a blog or start their own YouTube channel where they provide support to other victims. Let that be the way you expose the narcissist, rather than saying to people exactly what the narcissist has told them you will say, which actually supports the narcissist's smear campaign. Wait till you're stronger, guys, and you're further down the track in your healing journey, because it's then that you will be able to expose the narcissist in general to the world, but without necessarily pinpointing the narcissist in your life, because that will mean to the narcissist you're still thinking about them. They're still inside your head. They love that. Rather, you will be talking about your feelings and your awareness around what victims are going through. And if the narcissist wants to pin that on them and make it all about them, then they're going to do that. But always remember, it doesn't matter what you do, the narcissist is going to think it's a win for them. Very important to remember if you do get to that place in your healing journey and you want to write a book or you want to write a blog or start a channel on YouTube, the narcissist is going to be looking. They're very interested in what you're doing because they want to know that you're shattered and you're a crumpled heap that still misses them. So if you do that, in you want to help other people, the narcissist is going to look at it as a win. There's that meme that goes around every now and then that says having an argument with a narcissist is like trying to play a game of chess with a pigeon. It doesn't matter whether the pigeon wins or loses. They're still going to strut around on that chessboard, and they're going to poop on it, and they're going to act like they won anyway. So you do what's best for you, and the narcissist is going to think what they want to think, but you're not going to care about what they think. And that brings us to the end of another Fake Love and Flying Monkeys episode. Guys, don't forget, if you'd like to have a one-on-one counseling session with me, I am a professional counselor. All my sessions are online, so just see my website in the description, and I'd love to be able to support you one-on-one in your healing journey. And of course, don't forget to look out for my best-selling book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, available worldwide and also available on audio and in Kindle. Okay, guys, I really hope that this episode was able to give you some insights into how the covert narcissist fools other people and why they do it, and how you can move on from that, knowing that it's something that they have spent their entire lives doing. They fool other people and they want to maintain that image at all costs. I hope you've found this episode validating. Okay, guys, until tomorrow's episode. Oh, don't forget, if you would like to support this channel, the best thing you can do, guys, is to give it a rating to speed it up in the algorithm and put it out there. Give it a rating and a review. And of course, share. Sharing is the best thing you can do. Tell a friend, tag a friend, and share. That's the best thing you can do to keep this channel going. Okay, until tomorrow's episode, remember, you are worthy of love, and you are certainly worthy of a whole lot more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.